Hi, my name is Roberto Lugo. I'm a potter and I'm here with Design Milk for DMTV Milkshake. So just to introduce myself, I am from Philadelphia in a neighborhood called Kensington, which in Philly is also known as the Badlands. And it's not necessarily the neighborhood that people, if they could have chosen where to come from, would. But I use that as a way to be able to exhibit that someone that comes from that place, and this is why I represent and I talk about it, how there are so many careers and people who are stifled and unable to become designers and makers because those opportunities were never given to them. And so by me going out into the world and ensuring that people know exactly where I come from and can see what I'm doing, not only the people that come from that place feel as though they have the capacity to become designers themselves, but then also the people that aren't from that place see what we're capable of. And I think that creates more opportunities for the future. So we got a couple questions here, and I'm gonna pick some questions out of this bowl to answer. My first question is, what do you wish everyone watching this would do to ensure that all children have access to the arts? Well, I think first we need to understand that art is crucial and important to development. I think art allows people to gather empathy. It shows people to develop an appreciation for handmade things and for other people's time. And I think it's an opportunity for people to be able to share their ideas and their voice. And for so many people, it's the only time that anyone asks them what their opinion is. And they have the autonomy and the freedom to share that. So I think it's very important. And what I think that people should do, I think first knowing those things, I think it should just be something that's prioritized in schools. And I think we should think of more ways to create opportunities to have art without obstacles, like free classes outside, classes in all different types of neighborhoods, regardless of people's financial ability to pay for it. Okay, this question is, talk to us about what ghetto potter means to you. So, me using the word ghetto at times can be really controversial for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons why I use it is because I want to own it. When I come from, we describe where we lived at as a ghetto, which is really translates, it's an impoverished neighborhood primarily made up of people of color. But ghetto also means resourceful. Ghetto is a way that people do so much with so little. And where all these other cultures are represented in the arts and in mass culture. And, they're only represented in one way when it comes to where I come from, which is through hip hop and in film and in the news. And what I want to do is complicate that and show people that are from the ghetto are like me, and we also make pots. We also design things, and we're also people that are innovative and have a lot to offer. So for me, being ghetto is a thing that I am really proud of. What are your favorite types of ceramics from centuries past? Well, that's a complicated question because some of the things that I like aesthetically are not necessarily the same things that I like altogether. So aesthetically, I borrow a lot from European porcelain, which is mostly made for royalty and people who could afford it. Porcelain was considered more expensive than gold in the 18th and 19th centuries. And a lot of my work is inspired form-wise and decoration-wise by those things. But I don't believe in that sort of separation of class that those items represented. So a lot of times when I'm looking at historic pottery, I'm also thinking about the makers. For example, Dave the Potter, who was an enslaved person who made pots. And, content-wise, he would put poetry on his work. But just the fact that he was able to make art through being an enslaved person and still feel creative and have that autonomy, to me, I value those works far more than anything made at a porcelain manufacturer. Next question. Can you tell us about your work as a graffiti artist, your visual language, what represented a successful design to you? Yeah, so as a graffiti artist, my relationship to it was really as a cultural aspect of growing up where I did. It was a way for me to engage with my peers and to feel like I existed. And so in many ways, I understand why graffiti exists, because it's a lot of times made for people who didn't have art classrooms, so they made art anyway. It's a way for us to, when so many of us are being killed or incarcerated, it means so much to be able to have our name in a place of notoriety and honor. So I grew up doing it for those purposes, and I think the way that I use graffiti is very apparent that that's the case. It's not this necessarily something that I viewed as a craft when I was doing it, but now I'm trying to make that and use it as a pattern to represent it in a larger cultural context. Thanks so much to Design Milk for having me. This is Roberto Lugo for DMTV Milkshake.